It's time for the Ron and Brian Podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
All right. Good evening. Happy Easter. It is Sunday night, 8 o'clock here on the East Coast. Time for episode 202 of the Ron and Brian Podcast. Brian, my friend, how the hell are you this Easter Sunday?
I'm going to tell you something. Friday was a really was a dark day for me. Something very tragic happened. A close friend of mine passed away. Saturday was really a day of reflection for me. And then today my friend was back.
Interesting.
Came back. Just he said that there was a big rock in the way. But he's back with us, and all is right in the world.
All right, that's good to hear.
So it just makes me feel that everything is beautiful. My friend Jesus, he's rolling deep. He's my co-pilot. How are you doing, Ron?
I'm doing good. I am ready to do the podcast, and ready. I guess should we start off with our drink of the week?
Can't think why not.
Drink of the week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the week.
Pleasure. Who's?
Drink of the week. Drink of the week.
All right, Brian. What did you bring to drink this week, my friend?
Listen, Ron, recently, I think you know how important 9/11 was in my life. And I think something that you understand is just how important, commemorating those that gave all on that day. And now I think a lot of you are wondering, how am I going to tie this into Drink of the Week? Well, very recently, we celebrated the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Couple months back. So I am enjoying a Tunnel to Towers Bravest Golden Ale coming from our friends over at Flagship Brewing Company. Flagship Brewing created this golden ale specifically for the Tunnels to Tower Foundation. It's a 4.9 ABV, easy drinking golden ale brewed with Huell, melon, and Cascade hops. Now, Ron, I'm sure you're asking yourself, what is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation? Well,
I was actually just thinking that in my head. What is that foundation?
Well, I'm glad that you asked. It honors the heroic sacrifice of FDNY firefighter Stephen Siller and all those who perished on September 11, 2001, by providing mortgage-free homes to families of our military and first responders who continue to make the supreme sacrifice of life and limb. So in honor of all those people, I'm drinking this beer.
Very nice. Hopefully it is a worthy beer. Take a sip of that and tell us what you think.
My first thought is I wish I had a second one of these. It's pretty damn good.
All right.
It's tasty.
Very
It's
nice.
tasty.
What was the alcohol content on that again?
Low 4.8, I
Okay.
believe, which is why I've got a little friend, John Jameson.
There you go.
Jack Jameson, Harvey Jameson,
Nice.
Irv
Steve
Jameson?
I believe.
Steve Jameson,
I believe, yes.
Steven, Steve Ola, Steve Areno,
So
Steve
enjoy it.
Araba.
So what's that you say, Brian? What am I drinking this week?
Ron,
Yes.
what are you drinking this week?
So friends of the podcast, the Jardis, stopped over last night, and they were nice enough to bring a few beers over.
Thank you. Hold on. Thank you for the invite.
Oh, sure. Anytime.
Thank you for the invite. It means a lot that when the Jardis come over, I am not invited. I appreciate that.
So this is from the good folks at Cigar City Brewing down in Tampa, Florida. This is Guayabera Citra Pale Ale. Their brewers feel the same reverence and appreciation for the traditional Latin Guayabera shirt that we do for the Citra hop varietal, a hop that imparts notes of tangerine, limes, and berries to this American Pale Ale. This is clocking in at a 5.5%. Got a nice kind of hazy finish going on there. Well, let's take a sip.
It's actually the same consistency of my urine this morning.
Oh, that's good. I like that. That's tasty.
Now, is it the Guayabera that is providing the flavor? Because that is actually, I don't know if you realize this, but that is actually one of the most common tourist attractions. The fruits of the people of Venezuela, the Guayabera fruit, is people actually travel from all over the world to get their hands on the Guayabera.
The Guayabera is a shirt, actually, not a fruit.
Well, it's named after the fruit. Interesting fact.
Oh, okay. All right.
Named after the fruit because it was basically harvesting the fruit out in the fields during the brutal Venezuelan summers. What happened was the only way to survive a day out in the fields was to develop a cloth that was thin in depth that allowed air to flow through while still protecting the skin from the harmful sun rays.
And this relates to the fruit somehow.
It's the fruit, of course. It's the Guayabera fruit.
All right.
It's very tangy. It burns. It's just the acidity.
Stings the nostrils a bit.
Like right. Panther. What was it? Panther.
Ex-Panther.
That was it.
60% of the time, it works all of the time.
Every time.
In the meantime, let's keep it rolling with Beef of the Week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week?
Nothing is bothering me this week.
Wow. I'm actually a little bit shocked by that.
I do not have a beef of the week. I have a statement of gratitude of the week.
Wow. All right. Well, I think you have 49% of this podcast, however you choose to utilize it on a Sunday night. If you want to mix it up and make this your statement of gratitude of the week, I leave it in your very capable hands.
In the true spirit of Jesus Christ returning from his weekend away, out with the boys. Anywho, last night I was getting out of a friend's car, and I had my phone in my jacket pocket when I got out. And within about, I would say maybe 45 paces from walking away from the car, probably less, I realized that I did not have my phone.
Worst feeling in the world.
The level of panic I went through. So I ran down the street trying to meet up with my friend's car. They were stopped at a red light. And you know me, I'm not a good runner, in the sense that the last time I ran, I tore my meniscus, which required surgery.
I don't think we describe you as fleet of foot, I guess we could say.
No. So I am running as fast as I can. Because I could see the car still like stopped at the light. And as I get to maybe about 25 feet from the car, light changes, car speeds off. And I have no way of contacting this friend because I don't have my phone. I can't call them to say, I think you've got my phone. So I immediately go through like this very convoluted way to try to figure out how to reach my friend, it actually involving a third party to be like, can you call them? They do reach out to my friend. My friend says, no, it's not in my car. I can't understand that because I went back to where I got out of the car and the phone wasn't there. About 5 minutes later, my friend has the idea, why don't you call the phone number?
Right.
Hadn't occurred to me.
Makes sense.
Call the number. Guy answers and says, yeah, I'm standing right across the street. I've got your phone. Come on by and pick it up.
Nice.
And I immediately put my shoes back on, ran downstairs, ran outside the apartment building, ran over, gentleman standing right there, handed me my phone. I graciously thanked him and rewarded him.
You slipped him a little cash, a little something for the effort.
A little cashish. What would you have given?
Oh, 20.
I did 40.
Ah,
It's the
not
level of
bad.
panic I was in. The level of panic I felt I wasn't giving him enough with 40 because I was about to do 60, and then I was like, I put 20 back in my pocket as I was coming down there. Okay, well, see, Janelle goes right to the sex. I don't know why. I mean, I know we've talked about the sex edition before. She's got to get it under control.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it is a statement of gratitude. There are good people still out there. This man could have just taken my phone. This man could have just chucked it. Man could have broken it. Man could have done anything he wanted. But the man answered the phone, and the man said, "I am happy to return your phone," and was grateful with the reward. So instead of a beef of the week in honor of Jesus's birthday, I have a statement of gratitude of the week.
And what was this gentleman's name so you can properly thank him here on the podcast?
Oh, fuck you, Ron. Fuck you so much. Fuck you so much. Because I didn't ask. That's why. It didn't even.
That's why I made the statement.
It didn't even dawn upon me to ask him his name.
I know you. I love you, and I know you.
Fuck. All right, Ron.
Yes.
What is your statement of gratitude for Jesus' birthday?
I don't know that I have a statement of gratitude. I have a beef personally today. A beef. If you're all right with that.
I'm all ears.
So, my beef, and it's kind of specific. My beef is towards gadgets that have a battery to them, where when the battery starts to die, they start to chirp.
Right. Like a smoke detector.
Like a smoke detector, for example. So, sitting in the living room yesterday and hear a chirp, like a muffled chirp. So I know it's not from that specific room. And it's like, what is that chirp from? Because all of my smoke detectors, I have Nest smoke detectors. So if the battery's going low, like the app on my phone is going to be like, hey, the battery's low. So just sitting there, hearing it chirp, trying to figure out what the hell this chirp is. Later on in the day, I go down into the basement, go down to that back storage area, hear the chirp. The chirp is much more clear now. So I'm like, all right, it is somewhere here. The other problem is the chirp is only happening like once every 2 minutes. So if you don't catch where it's from, you just got to stand and be like. So I go like to my water meter, not that. Go to the hot water heater, not that. So can't figure out what the hell it is. Again, had the Jardies over, didn't want to spend the evening in the basement. So went upstairs, and because wherever it was right below the living room, all night I'm hearing that boop, boop. So finally this morning, I was able to narrow it down to my sump pump alarm, which apparently has a 9-volt battery backup, which will beep when that battery is getting ready to die.
Your sump pump is not connected to your Nest app?
My sump pump? No, it's completely independent.
What is a sump pump for those of us who live above ground?
A sump pump is a pump in your basement that will pump out water if you get water coming in. As we have discussed, the various issues of water coming into the basement, the sump pump is what takes the water out of the basement when it comes into the basement.
So not only do you have a defective sump pump, because we know your basement floods every time that you get a shower, it also has a 9-volt battery that chirps when it's getting low.
Well, there is an alarm that attaches to the sump pump. So should said sump pump ever fail, the alarm will go off and say, hey, your sump pump's not working.
Okay.
So that's my beef, Brian. Maybe it's petty, maybe it's small, but it was annoying the living hell out of me all night last night.
Well, interesting enough that at the same time that you were complaining about this chirp, or that you were being bothered by this chirp, 9,000 people are believed to have been dead in Kyiv, Ukraine, from Russian bombings. And your biggest complaint over the past 7 days since the last day we did the show was that you had a battery that was a little low?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I will say, while I was going through my basement looking for the chirp, I was wearing a T-shirt that says, I stand with Ukraine. So I feel like that balances things out. Just personally, that's how I feel.
You have a shirt that says "I stand with Ukraine"?
Well, it kind of does. I mean, if there was an imprint on it, it might say "I stand with Ukraine." It just hasn't been delivered in the mail yet, but the thought is there.
And also, interestingly, if you go to our the Ron and Brian podcast website and go to our store, click on the link that says store, you will see a shirt that says Ron and Brian stand with Ukraine. Brian, go ahead and put up the link below to our website. You can go to our store and you will see the link to the shirt. It says Ron and Brian stands with Ukraine. It is available in blue and yellow, as well as in yellow and blue. All proceeds from the sales of that shirt go back to Ron and Brian. So we would really appreciate it if you show your support for Ukraine by buying these shirts and helping Ron and I pay our bills. Thank you.
I believe listener Janelle has a really nice I Stand With Ukraine t-shirt. I forget, she mentioned how she got it. I forgot how she got it from the guy that she gave him a handy.
Give him a handy.
All right.
Yeah.
That would explain why it was as nice of a t-shirt as it was. So
fair trade, trade, Ron. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yes.
Makes perfect sense. So what do we want to start off with? We have a bunch
Can I start off by I would like to thank you, Ron, actually.
Really? Why me?
Earlier this week, as many people who are watching the show right now, earlier this week there was just a terrible and awful incident that occurred in the New York City subway system. A gentleman set off what was some type of smoke grenade, smoke bomb, something that within a very short period of time emitted a massive amount of smoke, took out a small arms, a handgun of some type, and started indiscriminately shooting at people. From the last report I saw, there were 10 wounded from gunshots. Another 6 were wounded from injuries trying to escape the smoke and the gunfire. Tragedy. A tragedy, that an act of domestic terrorism can take place. And the thing that I'm getting choked up. The thing that made me realize that I am loved, that there are people out there who care about me, is that even before I had heard that the shooting had taken place, you reached out to me via telephone, via FaceTime, Messenger audio, WhatsApp video. You reached out to me in all these different ways to make sure that that I was safe. I cannot tell you how important it is. A lot of people think that that's an annoyance, something that's just, leave me alone. No, but to know that I matter to someone means so much to me. And I want to thank you for thinking of me when that happened.
I think it just makes sense when there is an act of violence. I think it's just right that friends reach out to friends and make sure that they're okay. If I may also compliment you, when I reached out to you, you thanked me, but you were like, Ron, it would be wrong of me to make a situation like this about me, to be concerned about people reaching out to me, and instead put all your energy into sending thoughts and prayers for the victims.
Of course. I mean, the fact that there are some people that immediately sat there and attempted to make it about themselves. I saw some really egregious behavior online from people that I consider my fellow New Yorkers. This one person posted a paragraph on Facebook stating how they were upset that there were people that didn't reach out to see if they were okay. I saw other people who posted videos where they were, while, the fallout was still happening, we were trying to figure out, was this a sole attack? Were there other, incidents going on? There were people putting videos on social media complaining about how their subway commute was impacted by this attack, and complaining as if that was really the important thought that needed to be shared instead of thoughts and prayers to the victims and their family. It really was a moment, I guess, where we got to see the best of humanity and, sad to say, some of the worst.
Yes. And now, as far as a count, more than apparently 20 people were injured when a suspect identified as 62-year-old Frank James, like you said, started to shoot up a Brooklyn subway station. He was arrested and charged on Wednesday in the East Village neighborhood of Manhattan. He faces a federal charge of terrorism on mass transit, which carries a sentence of up to life in prison. I was reading an article also before this that apparently there had been a $50,000 reward for information from New York City, which the mayor announced that they will be splitting amongst 10 individuals, which a number of people have said that makes the city look extremely cheap.
Well, who are the 10 people? I mean, we know the story of the maintenance worker,
right,
who was able to get the what's the guy's name again? Eric Adams, the shooter.
The shooter, Frank James.
Frank James. Okay. But there, he was telling a story how he was able to get Frank James to stop running away from the police. I think Janelle posted exactly how the maintenance worker was able to get Mr. James to stop running. You are correct, Janelle. He gave him a handy. But we also know that there's also claims that Frank James called Crime Stoppers, Crime Busters,
Crime Stoppers. You got it right.
Crime Stoppers. Scruff the crime dog. Was that his name?
I believe so. Yes.
Scruffy, and said and gave his own location away. So there's a lot of stories going on. I'm a little upset that I'm not going to be getting a piece of that $50,000 reward money. Actually feels a little low, all things considered. And I also feel that part of the story that is not being publicized as much as it should, the part of the story where I feel like, we are, looking past, is that Mr. James is a resident of Philadelphia and drove up. He drove up to New York to commit this crime.
I don't believe he's I don't believe he is a resident of Philadelphia, but apparently, yes, he did come to Philadelphia to rent the U-Haul and then drove it up to New York City.
So where did he live?
I don't know if they've really located where he exactly lives. He has ties to Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York City.
My gosh, all the swing states for the next presidential election. Jesus Christ, this man, the presidency is in this man's hands. Total fucking whack job. I mean, if there is one thing that you should, I guess in hindsight, people who put entire YouTube channels of their online rants about their conspiracy theories and the people that they hate and their theories of why they hate them. I mean, if you're going to commit a terrorist act, I mean, I think we learned as so much as we could from the 9/11 attackers, which is, minimize your online digital footprint. Don't leave videos all over the place. Leave them guessing. Make them wonder who you are, why you did this. This man's basically handed them a litany of rants. My sympathies go out to his public defender, who's going to have to somehow get this man out of the death chamber.
Yes, there is a page of YouTube videos from a user going by the name of Prophet of Truth 88, which police claim belong to James, which, like you said, have hundreds of videos, many of them rants about various racist and derogatory views, including against Black people and other people of color. He had complained about unhoused people on the New York City subways. And in one video called 9/11, quote, the most beautiful day in the history of this country.
Jesus Christ.
So also in one video, James allegedly said, quote, and so the message to me is I should have gotten a gun and just started shooting motherfuckers.
Wow.
A little intense.
Fuck him. Yeah, but listen. What I found amazing was this took place at around 8:30 in the morning, and 5 o'clock I was taking the subway home with a bunch of other people who acted as if there had not been an attack on the subway earlier that day. Like it literally was just another day on the afternoon commute home.
Listen, if New Yorkers are not afraid of riding the subway during a pandemic, I don't think an individual shooter is going to stop them.
We're not afraid.
The question is, was he an individual shooter, or were there other parties tied to this? Was there, a second party supporting him? Was there a third party supporting him? Oh, and Janelle is admitting that she is party number 3. Oh,
She's involved. She's involved from the beginning. Terrible. Awful.
I don't even know. I mean, Janelle, how did you even get involved with Frank James in the first place? Gave him a handy.
Obvious. Gave him a handy. We're gonna have to talk to Evie, her boyfriend, because it seems like she's giving a lot of handies out. She got.
I feel like people are going to stop commenting on our YouTube channel because of the way we utilize those comments throughout the show. Just going to say that.
Or hold on. See, this is where it just shows how you and I are wired differently, because you're looking at it from the perspective that people will be more hesitant to make comments, whereas I think that it will actually encourage people to leave vague, somewhat suggestive comments that may be fitting for what they're referring to in the moment, but actually could be used at any time after the fact.
Okay. I mean, that's two ways to look at it. Tomato, tomato, as you would say.
Sure.
Also on our crime blotter for the week, there was the story of Julie Ann Budge. She is a driver out in Utah who struck 2 cyclists, killing both of them, and blamed the accident on how did she put it? What would be the best way to say? Uncontrollable defecation, she said, was the reason for the accident. She was driving, I guess for lack of a better word, shart herself, and which caused her to swerve into the 2 brothers riding the cyclist. She then continued to drive off. She said she knew she had hit the cyclist, but that she couldn't get her vehicle to stop. So, yeah.
Now, was that because the poop came out of her butt, slid down her leg, and was so massive that it was putting so much pressure on the gas that as she was pressing the brake with her foot, there was the car continued to move forward?
Well, I think it made the brake pedal so slippery, the uncontrollable, violent projectile defecation, just no traction, just couldn't hit the brake.
Have you ever pooped yourself uncontrollably?
Not since I was a child. No. Same
here. I have an extraordinary fear of doing it.
Right.
I never have, but I still I still have this fear. Also, I have a fear of peeing in the bed, where I don't know where that comes from either.
Now, you have pissed yourself, as we have outlined in an episode of this podcast.
I did once when I was coming back from the supermarket.
Yeah.
That was what, like 2-3 years ago?
Roughly. I forget what the name of I believe the title of the episode is like Brian pissed
himself. Yeah. I did pee myself. Oh, it was all over my underwear. Oh, it was terrible. It was terrible. People, go back in the archives. Ron, I have a question, all joking aside. Maybe we should talk about this off the show, or maybe we put it up for a public debate. But right now, we have all 201 episodes of our podcast up for everyone to listen to.
We do, yes.
Have you thought about taking some of our older episodes and putting them behind the paywall?
I mean, it may be time. Maybe take, the first year's worth of episodes and put them behind the Patreon.
We certainly have enough content. I mean, think about it. 200 hours of this podcast, more than 200, because some episodes went, an hour and 5. Some episodes went an hour and 10. I remember one episode recently went as long as an hour and 40.
That it did. I believe a lot of people still speak fondly of it.
Numbers were good on that one. That's all I'm going to say.
Numbers were very good, without a doubt. All right, what else do we have here? We have the Jussie Smollett song, which I think we're gonna need to take a deep dive into this.
Okay. Now, people remember who Jussie Smollett was.
Wow, Janelle getting saucy now that we've been making fun of her.
Now, she has no idea about this. She cannot prove it unless I admitted it to her one day over conversation, which I can't deny, but not inappropriate. Inappropriate. Please take that down, Ron. Now, Jussie Smollett was an actor. I say was because I think he is out on bail awaiting an appeal. Or is he in jail right now?
He's in jail because he was sentenced to 30 days in jail. And I don't believe he was. I think he had to go serve it immediately. I don't think he was allowed to bail out while waiting for an appeal.
Yet somehow he puts out a song. So he is an actor on the show Empire, which is on the Fox Network channel. Shout out to all my brothers and sisters on Fox. Cousins, grandparents, family members, just favorite channel. So apparently, allegedly, he was not feeling that he was getting the proper support from the show's producers in terms of some anti how would you phrase this, Ron? The letters he was getting in the mail, were they threats so much as were they just not fan mail?
I think it was probably hate mail he was getting. I don't know that he was receiving threats, but he was definitely receiving hate mail from people watching the show.
And allegedly he was writing the letters himself, but that's not part of the case. So what happens is, pre-pandemic, Jussie Smollett, not Jesse, Jussie, and based on his story, Jussie was going outside at 2 a.m. in the morning for a Subway sandwich in Chicago on a February night when it was like 20 degrees outside, claims that he was physically attacked by two white men wearing red MAGA hats, screaming that this is Trump land, attacked him, put a noose around his neck, and poured bleach on him.
Allegedly.
Well, that's what he claimed.
Yes.
And a court of law found that not to be the case. The court of law actually found that Jussie paid two brothers who were his sometimes trainers at the gym, and Jussie admits he knows them because he used to pay them to watch him masturbate, I believe is the allegation, or he paid them so that he could watch them masturbate. I don't remember. I don't want to get the story wrong.
Right. But there was, as has been a theme for this episode, there was some sort of a hand job involved.
Yes. But I don't believe that it was being performed on someone else. So it wasn't like a Janelle. It was just I believe that it was just more of a masturbate. It was more of a Louis C.K. than a Janelle.
Sure. I get that.
My point being is that it turns out that Jussie sent these two brothers a large sum of money, like 10 grand or whatnot. And according to the prosecutors, it was a staged attack. There were no actual white men in MAGA hats screaming, "This is Trump country," in the middle of Chicago on a February morning. So Jussie recently was, what was the charge against him? Filing a false police report?
I believe filing a false police report, lying to the police, something along those lines.
And he claims that he's still innocent.
To this day.
To this day.
Yes.
Now, when he was sentenced, he stood up and ran into a diatribe how he was not he was not suicidal.
Correct.
That if anything happened to him in prison, it was not because he was suicidal. And one thing that we can all prove that we know is behavior of somebody who is not suicidal is releasing a very poor quality rap song, would you call it, or R&B?
This is more, I guess, R&B.
But it feels a little bit like slam poetry, like a Def Jam comedy minus the comedy jam.
I think it's fair to say that this song is all over the board. It's a variety of styles, none of them good.
Would you say that this is a song, and we're gonna play the song, people? I want you to, if you're sitting down, go pour yourself a drink. We're going deep. If you're standing up, sit down. If you're taking a walk, run. If you're thinking, stop.
All right, are we ready for this?
Is it true, Ron, that something you said earlier this week, that this is going to be the song, the official theme of Hot Podcaster Summer?
Very possibly could be. Very possibly. Without further ado, let's get to this song that Jussie Smollett dropped on his Instagram earlier this week.
You're not solving a crime, taking out.
Sorry, cut off the first part.
Like they hell-bent.
Because they won't let my man Jussie speak.
Taking out the elements of race and trans and homophobia that's straight taking lives. But turn around and act like I'm the one that killed the strides. Maybe we stick together. Maybe we read more. Instead of saying that it's above me now. Brother, you sure? I can't be mad. Take my ego out. Some people searching for fame. Some people chasing that clout.
But he is mad. He's very mad. He's
very
shown
mad.
how mad he is during this whole
Of course. And he's the one searching for fame. He's
Right.
the one searching for clout. Like, he faked this, so this way he would be seen as a victim, and it would raise his profile so that they would give him a bigger acting role on the show. That is the entire reason he faked this. And now he's talking about how other people are chasing clout.
Right.
Fuck, it's one thing that fucking sets me off. It's fucking hypocrisy. I loathe hypocrisy.
This ain't that situation. You think I'm stupid enough to keep my reputation?
Well, we do actually. I
Yes.
think everyone
Yeah.
pretty much, and the courts pretty much agree.
It was proven. A judge.
Simply to look like a victim, like it's something fun. I better look at someone else. You got the wrong one.
Again, lots of evidence showing that he was the right one, and you know, should have been convicted. And really, probably fortunate to only spend 30 days in jail after the amount of money he cost the Chicago Police Department tracking down a non-crime.
But I want to thank y'all. I know I still got you. It's for the people.
Who does he still have? This is my question. Who is still backing Jussie at this point?
Okay, hold on. If you're actually asking who is backing Jussie Smollett, I mean, there are still women in the South who are willing to put up bail money for R. Kelly right now, given the opportunity. I don't think that you can. I don't think that you can actually sit there and say that this is an unreasonable statement.
Very valid. Okay.
It's for the people who kept it real, kept it true. Wait, let me phrase that, cuz the narrative they played.
So first he's like, let's go back for a second.
I like the fact that we can actually see the blue line going back as you hit rewind. I love
People
it.
who kept it real, kept it true.
So, all right, this is for the people that kept it real. For the people that kept it
Wait,
true.
let me phrase that, cuz
Wait, no, this is too nice. Let me rephrase that.
the narrative they played, I really understand the reason why y'all felt betrayed.
So this is the part. So I feel like he's trying to say something extremely deep here by saying I really overstand versus understand. But it makes no sense whatsoever.
No. He's creating words. Like, hence my reference to the Def Jam comedy jam, because now he's just creating words to try and sound smart,
right,
while realizing that the people who are going to think he's smart for creating the word overstand are the dumb ones.
It's like he understands so much why we felt betrayed by him. He understands that so deeply that he overstands it. He has come full circle from understanding it and now is on top of it and overstands it.
Yeah, he sees the big
picture. My own people, thoughts going off the wall. That's why from LD to Don, I still got love for y'all. I know.
Hold up, rewind. Yes. Who's LD? Larry David.
I believe so. I believe he was a big Curb Your Enthusiasm fan. LD and Don
Don would be Donald Trump,
Yes.
president, the greatest president that we've ever had, president number 45. So from LD to Don, he really is basically thinking Larry David all the way through President Trump, who are also, keep in mind, two white men who have worn a red "Make America Great" hat.
You're really, this is why I'm glad I have you as part of this podcast, because you dig into this stuff and you nail it.
That's why from LD to Don, I still got love for y'all. I know we'll meet again. Talk like real men.
Now he's saying this like, I know we'll meet again. Like, but he's only going away for 30 days. It's not like he's going to prison for 20 years. Like, wow, I know we'll meet again. Like, that'd be like when you leave on the train and be like, Brian, I know we'll meet again someday. And you'd be like, I'm only 2 hours away in New York City.
Yeah. I'll be like, yeah. We have plans. I'm going down next month.
Yeah.
A question now: has an instrumental version of this been released?
Not as of yet, but we can work on that.
Because I swear to God, I would do my version of this song.
We may have to.
I would love to
put that together.
Put that
Instead of sharing shaded rooms and up on CNN. Thunder's mad loud. Still, I'm pushing through the clouds. All I ever really wanted to do was make my people proud. Fame is nothing real. It's how you make them feel. Celebrity is for the birds. I ain't no man steal.
I'm not quite sure. So this really awesome.
That transition was one of the fucking worst things I've ever seen, because it's just like, I got to hear it again.
You got to play it again. Because literally, I thought there was an issue with my computer when I was recording this, but I went back and played it again.
Well, he says fame is nothing real, but like he's like his entire, like he faked the whole attack on him just for fame.
Right.
Like this is the world that I see with the deep right wing, which is the fact that like they take their actions, and then when they're accused of it, they immediately like just put out this narrative that they're the complete opposite of what their actual actions were, in an attempt to sit there and just mind fuck people into thinking that what they did or were accused of could not be real.
And he said celebrities for the birds, but he was the one that complained so loudly when he lost his job on Empire because of all of this.
Sure.
That's how you make them feel. Celebrity is for the birds. I ain't no man steal.
So I'm not sure what that noise is supposed to be, like a gunshot, or hold on, it's like the Zapruder film. Let's do this one more time.
For the birds, I ain't no man steal.
All right, so if you're not watching the video of this, it says every single cent of the artist profits will be donated to the Rainbow Push Coalition, the STB Safety, and the Illinois Innocence Project. And I didn't cut the video off shortly. It just drops out at the end.
Now, what's the name of that song?
I'm not even sure that it has a name. To be perfectly honest, let me go onto his Instagram and see if he actually gave a name to this.
If anybody has Pro Tools on their computer at home and can somehow
link in bio, so let's go to his bio.
Because if there's any way that we can get an instrumental version, I will absolutely do my best. Jussie Smollett, famous for the birds, but I'm not a man of steel. From LD to Don.
Thank You God. And
I keep it real.
See if there's a price on this, because it's available in Apple Music, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music.
Thank you, God, for my key fob.
Let me make sure I don't.
That's me in the door. Now I drop to the floor. The men with the red hats beat me, and then I shot, and then I drove over two bicyclists and drove away.
There doesn't seem to be a way to actually purchase this on any of these platforms.
Thank God. Who the fuck is going to pay for that song? First off, the song is trash. It's not even. I mean, it's produced okay, but he's not singing. He's not rapping. He's just talking over it, which is basically what you've been doing for the past 45 minutes. But I don't see you announcing that. Listen, let's face it, Ron. At no point during this show are you going to put up any language that says all of your artist profits from this show are going to go to what was the foundation? Tunnels to Tower, the Tunnels to Tower Foundation, people, for the bravest golden ale, which I drank. I still have a little bit left over.
But the ballsiest thing is he says he wants to donate it to the Illinois Innocence Project, which, they literally get innocent people out of jail, which he is the opposite of.
He's guilty.
There's no question that he is guilty of what he is charged of. And he's only having to do 30 days.
But what I also love about this was all he had to do was plead down, and this thing would have gone away years ago. Like, we wouldn't be talking like this whole thing has been a way for him to stay in the public eye, continue to have people like you and I talk about him so that he is still about the fame. Because when it came out that this was just a sham charge that he was making, all he had to do was put a plea down. He could have cleaned up the roadside to the highway and moved on. He'd probably be acting right now. Instead, we're still mocking him. This is for the people who kept it real. Now I am. Got the video of Guns of Steel. To all my brothers and my sisters.
Let's stick with Hollywood. Stick with Hollywood crime for a bit here, Brian.
Hollywood crime.
So we have another celebrity currently behind bars. That would be a gentleman by the name of Eddie Diesen, who we have talked about on this podcast previously. Former Grease actor. He played Eugene Felsnick in the 1978 movie and also in its 1982 sequel, Grease 2. He was arrested in Maryland on April 9th for burglary, 2 counts of trespassing, and disturbing the peace. The 65-year-old actor remains behind bars and is being held on bond. Apparently, according to police, he forced his way into a privately owned nursing facility and refused to leave after a woman told him to get out. He also allegedly tried to break into a patient's room before being kicked out and arrested on the property.
Do we know who the patient was?
I do not have information on the patient, no.
Because I believe that Eddie Deezen had a previous relationship with this patient. And when asked, I remember, I think if you dig deeper into the article, when asked Eddie, when the police asked him what was the relationship, what was it that the patient had done for Eddie previously, Eddie's answer was that he had given him a handy.
Interesting. I understand Eddie also claimed that he was visiting his son, which he felt was living at the facility. I believe we have a photo of Eddie with his son. There we are.
That is a doctored photo. That is fake. That is absolute. Listen, there is absolutely no way that I would be willing to be photographed with somebody who is a career criminal. This is not his first charge. A lot of people said that this was the apex of Eddie Deezen's Hollywood career, and he has been downhill ever since that fateful day at Chiller Theater when I paid $20 to have a photo taken with him.
I was going to say, how long ago was this photo taken?
I'm going to say that was probably somewhere in the range of 6 to 8 years ago.
Really? So this is Eddie.
Well, first
Deezen.
off, I'm wearing glasses, so it's pre-eye surgery. I look fat in the face. Not that I'm not. Maybe I'm still fat in the face. That shirt I still have and wear. So clearly wardrobe needs to be updated a bit. I look painfully awkward.
Well, that's a given.
Eddie looks like he's about to just bend me over and have his way with me.
Well, look at Eddie. Eddie looks a little bit younger there. Dark hair.
He looks much younger.
But let's compare it to this latest mugshot photo. I mean, if that was only like 6 to 8 years ago, it has been a rough 6 to 8 years for Eddie Deezen. He was also arrested back in September of 21 at a Maryland restaurant after allegedly going on a rampage in which he refused to leave and threw plates and food at cops. He was charged with second-degree assault, disorderly conduct, and trespassing. And then the last time we had spoken about him was when he was involved in another incident at a Maryland restaurant where he was accused of harassing a waitress and detailing his infatuation with her via Facebook.
Honestly, I think his slide down to away from the path was when the script for Grease 4 was written, and there was no character for Eugene in Grease 4.
That was the downward spiral.
He said that he wanted to play the guidance counselor. He felt that Eugene would have graduated high school, college, and become the guidance counselor of Rydell High. And the writers were like, "Sorry, Eugene, it can't be. It's just not meant to be."
Should we look into doing a 100% Eddie Deezen focused podcast? Just retire this podcast and just do a weekly podcast about Eddie Deezen.
Can we continue to do this podcast because it has this podcast? Let's call it for what it is. This show has really been a rallying cry for the people of Ukraine over the past 2 months. I mean, our download numbers in Ukraine have skyrocketed with support. I don't know that I would feel comfortable robbing our Ukrainian brothers and sisters, thank you, God, from their ability to watch the show. And I'm not sure that they have the interest in hearing about Eddie Deezen. Could we do a second podcast where it's all about Eddie Deezen?
So just make it part of the Ron and Brian universe, a second podcast.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, there's nothing stopping us from expanding.
No.
I mean, I know you're shrinking. We know that, over the past year, in your journey. Thank you, God, I wasn't chasing clout. I was just chasing a trout because I'm a fisherman in a fisher world.
We have to get.
I feel like I could write an atrocious song to that beat.
I would agree.
It's literally just like one word and then another line rhyming with the last word of the first sentence, and then doing it over and over and over again.
Well, I will make it my job to get you the instrumental for that song, without a doubt.
I'd appreciate it.
Let's see. We've got a couple of COVID stories kicking around. They may have reinstituted the mask mandate here in Philadelphia, but down in Brazil, they have actually ended the COVID mask mandate. And there is a man known as the human Satan, due to his extreme body transformations. He celebrated by removing his ears, which seems drastic.
What?
And is. So we've got a photo of this gentleman right here. So this is Brazilian Michel Faro do Prado. He has undergone extensive body modifications over the years, including dozens of tattoos and piercings, even customized his teeth. And so he has now lobbed his ears off, and we do have a photo cleaned up a bit. So you can see on the left there, his ears, where his ears were, all kind of stitched up. And then in that pixelated photo, those are his ears. So he posted on social media site Reddit, showing off his new look minus his ears.
Like, I feel this guy's chasing fame and clout.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Now, we all know that the COVID numbers are going back up again.
They are. And hopefully, if they were to institute another mask mandate, I think he would have a bit of an issue.
Fucking hell. What is wrong with people?
I don't know, Brian. We have been asking that for going on 4 years now, and I don't know that we have any answers.
Wow, Janelle, that really hurt.
Wow, that's... So, Brian, a new study came out this past week looking at the handling of COVID, reported by the very always reliable New York Post.
Of course.
Said that New York, New Jersey, and California failed in their handling of the COVID-19 pandemic because of stringent lockdowns and policies, while Florida was amongst the best performing states in the country. The organization that that ran this study, it was published by the Committee to Unleash Prosperity, which, if you are not familiar with that, Brian, it appears to be something that was just recently created to put this study out. The study is headed by John Catsimatidis. If you don't know him, he is the chairman and CEO of the Red Apple Group, a Fortune 500 company with annual revenues in excess of $5 billion. Not too surprising, a staunch conservative and Republican with huge investments in the energy sector. And then this study was also backed by the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank. So questioning the validity of this study, given the kind of partial organizations that it came from.
Well, I'm gonna throw this one out there.
Okay.
And I know this may be a controversial take. Hot take. I think that the logic in shutting everything down and closing all businesses, preventing people from working and whatnot, a complete shutdown, as states like New York and California did, I don't necessarily think that that has been proven to have been the correct response. In the same way that Florida and Texas's response of, well, fuck it, we're not worried, let's just keep everything open, we don't care if you wear a mask. I don't think that that actually it can also be seen as the proper response. I think it has been well established that the Florida numbers that they were reporting for hospitalizations, for cases, for deaths, they had more than 4 deaths, by the way.
Yeah.
Were also undercounted and under acknowledged. So I think that, once again, just like in all things in life, thank you, God. There is no such thing as black or white, 1 or 0, A or B, yes or no, alpha and
This time's gotta stop.
Made it 58 minutes almost.
But I think it's just the fact that that for us, I think what we should do is try to figure out what worked in certain states, what didn't work in others, and not take a stance of, well, this was right and that was wrong, because the world doesn't operate that way. You look at Shanghai right now, and you've got people who are literally, I mean, they're under one of the most strictest COVID lockdowns right now. You've got people that are literally dropping their dogs out their window, tied onto a leash and lowered floor by floor so dogs can walk on the grass downstairs and go to the bathroom.
No, I mean, I agree. It's like you said, it's not black and white. It's not cut and dried. Although I think one thing we can agree upon is that this study gave New Jersey the grade of F-. And I think in general, anything regarding New Jersey, you can grade as an F-. So I think that much we can agree with them on. Would you say? So
then see, even like this, like you started talking about this report as if basically saying that this report is all hooey, nonsense, garbage, flatulence, not worth the paper it's printed on, 0.
This time's gotta stop.
And yet there was a piece of it that we could pull out and we could find common ground on. So
and that we can all agree New Jersey is trash.
Before we get out of here, we do need to take a quick look over to celebrity obituaries. Mike Bossy, Islanders great, 4-time Stanley Cup champion, one of hockey's most prolific goal scorers, passing away after a battle with lung cancer at the age of 65.
The Islanders won 4?
They didn't win 4, but he won 4 in his career.
Oh, while playing for other teams.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I
Got it. Okay.
apologize. He helped the Islanders win the Stanley Cup 4 straight years from 1980 to 1983.
Where the fuck was I? There's no way the Islanders won 4 straight years.
That's what this story is telling me. You think? I mean, you think they're lying in his obituary for clout?
Thank you, God. I didn't do this for love. I did this for God.
But obviously, the most tragic death of the week was the passing of iconic comedian Gilbert Gottfried, dying at the age of 67 after a long time battle with recurrent ventricular tachycardia, a heart abnormality.
It seems that comedians are dropping like flies. Just recently, Norm Macdonald, Bob Saget,
Louis Anderson,
Ralphie May.
Ralphie May was a few years ago.
So wasn't Louis Anderson a couple of years ago?
No, that was within like the last few months. It was Bob Saget and then Louis Anderson.
No way.
The amazing Jonathan recently passing away.
My will to live.
Shockingly, the unknown comic still alive.
Still
obviously,
around. Making that bank. Making bank on Cameo.
But Gilbert Gottfried, really, I mean, we talk about icons. Gilbert Gottfried, one of the best comedians to ever do it, personally.
What I think made him so great was just his willingness to embrace just being bad.
Right.
I mean, when you look at his jokes, they're not particularly well crafted. It is just the fact of it was about saying something shocking, embracing being politically incorrect, being offensive, having no filters, having absolutely nothing that he would shy away from. I think is let's be brutally honest, it is one of the last of a dying breed. He famously lost his gig as the Affleck Gecko when he made jokes.
Duck.
What?
The Affleck duck, not a gecko.
Who's the gecko?
That's Geico.
I was close. You got to give me a little credit on that one. But he got fired. He got fired from his job on Affleck because he was making tsunami jokes after the disaster in Japan.
Just tweet after tweet of like 11 or 12 tweets in a row making tsunami jokes.
And when he got fired, it wasn't even a blip. Like, he showed absolutely no regret. Like, that was the part where with most people now, if they said something that was later deemed offensive, 99% of Hollywood, regardless of whether you're A-list or D-list, would immediately launch into apology mode. They would send out a tweet that they were sorry, that they're going to step back, and spend some time, reevaluating their priorities. They would win the Oscar for Best Actor and start crying to try and drum up sympathy for themselves. Like, whereas Gilbert Gottfried just went right back into making more jokes. Like, he just didn't care. It was just a constant attempt to make people laugh, and he did it very well.
The other day, after he passed away, I watched the clip of him at the Hugh Hefner roast back in, it was late 2001. It was one of the first comedy shows after 9/11, and he kind of bombed because he started doing 9/11 jokes on this, like literally months after he told a joke that he was nervous about his upcoming flight to LA because it had a connection at the Empire State Building. And then he decides to go and tell his aristocrats joke, which is still now considered one of the all-time best tellings of that joke.
Yeah. Well, I think it was the idea that he realized that he was not going to drum up a lot of laughter in the crowd.
Right.
He read the crowd wrong in terms of their willingness to accept 9/11 jokes. Like, it was a little too early by the majority of the people in the room. However, people who are prioritize humor the comedians that were in the room immediately acknowledged that his jokes about 9/11 immediately sent the signal to the comedy world that it was okay to laugh, that this was something that, we're still grieving through, but one of the tactics, one of the ways that we have available to us is through comedy, is through laughter, not just by tears. So as he started telling his 9/11 jokes, there was a large segment of people in that room who sat there and said, yeah, we needed this. We needed a 9/11 joke. It's because you can imagine everybody was no, okay, I'm not going to restate that. Not everybody.
Not everybody in the room.
Not Steven Siller, who gave his life at 9/11 so that I could drink this beer today. Oops, I hope that glass was empty. Yeah, okay. So Gilbert Godfrey passed away. Really a loss. But it's something that we're going to have to deal with as people of our generation and that above us are going to start dying more frequently. One of the things that I've started to notice over the last decade is that people that I grew up looking up at in terms of celebrity status, people, actors, comedians, F1 car drivers, they're starting to now pass away more regularly. It's, when I was 6, people in the 20s were not dying, but now that I'm 38, people in their 50s are dying more frequently. So it's just something we're going to have to start living with.
There you go. Before we get out of here, remember that you can follow us on TikTok, the Ron and Brian podcast. The more followers we get, we may actually start putting some content up there. So go on to TikTok, the Ron and Brian podcast. And of course, go to ronandbrianpodcast.com. We are getting ready to do After Dark shortly in about 23 minutes. So that is something that is every Sunday night at 9:30 p.m. Once a month, we do our pajama party where we invite you, our Patreon listeners, to come on the show with us. As we posted on social media, we are looking to put together a counter offer to Elon Musk's $43 billion offer to buy Twitter. The only way we can do that is if we get more Patreon subscribers. So go to ronandbrianpodcast.com, upper right-hand corner, click on Become a Patron, and join us for as low as $5 a month. If you want to join the live After Dark, that's just $10 a month. So skip the avocado toast for a couple of days during your month, and you can get some fine quality entertainment. If you think this show is good, you should see what we talk about After Dark.
Last week on After Dark, we put up our Mount Rushmore of adult film actors, both female and male.
Yes. I think that was a highlight of After Dark so far.
And you know who I was reminded of this past week that we left out, made no reference to?
Who's that?
Ron Jeremy.
A little problematic.
Was that why you left him off?
I think, I think, yes, that would be part of it.
Never even crossed my mind in terms of putting up on Mount Rushmore.
Nor should he have been, based on what he is alleged to have done.
Has he been tried yet, or is he still languishing in jail?
That I don't know. We'd have to do some research on that.
He hasn't looked good the last couple times.
I'll be honest. I'm a little surprised he's still with us because he never was the picture of health. Let's put it that way.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's not good. Not good for him.
No. The last update on Ron Jeremy. So back in March, his case was postponed because he had mental health issues, and they didn't feel that he was comprehending what was going on, so he was going to have to undergo a mental health evaluation.
Do you think his psychiatrist was like, all right, Ron, just let me put the tip in? Let me put the tip of mental health inside of you.
And do you know how old Ron Jeremy is now?
69.
Nice.
Exactly.
Nice.
He should die at 69. Just would kind of
yes.
That would really just kind of tie things in a bow. Anyway.
It would be fitting.
Anything else before we wrap this episode up and head on over to After Dark?
Let's take it to After Dark, people.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. We love you all. We appreciate you. We'll be back again next Sunday at 8 o'clock for your After Dark, folks. We will see you in a few minutes. So be good to each other, and we will catch you all next week.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you again next